Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
To Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. All your printing, scanning, copying needs. Shout out to our guy Trey Beal and the folks at Gulf Coast Office Products, located here in Baton Rouge. Can help you out wherever you are in the state. They got locations throughout the state. All your printing, scanning, copying needs, Gulf Coast Office Products. All right, LSU's roster was put together a little bit differently this year. We'll talk about that at the bottom of the hour. Coming up with the Athletics' Manny and Navarro. But I want to spend some time right now on Pete Prisco of CBS's list of the top 100 players in the National Football League. Does this annually, and it always generates a healthy amount of discussion and debate. And I tell you all the time, like, what do I do when you see a list like this? Well, I immediately go to the local angle. We talked in the first hour about looking at LSU from a recruiting perspective and looking at rivalry rankings, and both of those I'm like, all right, well, how is LSU affected? Well, in this instance, like, what do the Saints look like as far as top 100 players in the NFL? And I started going through and I was like, okay, if I think about the roster before I look at the list, I would say you got a chance to get Kamara on there. He had a pretty heavy workload last year. I would say Eric McCoy has a reasonable chance to make that list. And then you start to run a little bit low after Demario Davis. Maybe Chase Young. These are kind of the names that I'm tossing around in my head. And ultimately, I put pen to paper and I said, I think the Saints will have two on the list. I think they will have Eric McCoy and Demario Davis. Like, those are the two I landed on. Because you keep in mind, Demario Davis had a career high in tackles last year. May not realize that, but he did. Some say you turn on the tape, like, he's not quite the player that he once was, doesn't get after the quarterback quite like he once did, but still productive, making plays. And then McCoy, I think, is, one of the top 3 or 4 centers in the NFL. So those are the two that I kind of settled on. And then I went in and looked. Maybe Chase Young finds his way on there. I don't think Carl Granderson backed up his good year last year. So let's look. And you start scrolling through 100, 90, 80, 70, 60. And by the time you roll around to 30, I'm thinking, I don't think that anybody on the Saints is going to make this list in the 30s or the 20s. And they didn't. Pete Prisco, top 100 players in the National Football League, the Saints are not represented. And does that really matter in the grand scheme? No. Is it a reflection of where this roster has fallen to? I think so. I think when you start to look at all of the outside observers who were sitting back like us, not looking at Mickey Loomis, not talking about what Kellen Moore thinks or what Doug Nussmeier thinks, not what Cam Jordan's goals are for the season, like, just looking back at us, whether it's Joe Fan, Pete Prisco, Hunt Palmer, or the sports book out in Vegas. And you start to look at this and you see the Saints win-loss total hovering around 5.5. And you see Pete Prisco put together a list and say there's not a single player on this roster that's in the top 100 players in the league. There's so much smoke, the fire's got to be there. Like that, it just is what it is. The roster right now is at a spot that is as bad as any in the NFL. And that can dampen the way you feel about what's coming over the next 7 months. Because, to be really honest, meaningful football is probably not in the near future for the Saints. But if some of these guys can take leaps early in their career, and become the pillars of the next really good Saints team as the old pillars move out, because none of them are valued here in the best 100 players in the year. I mean, you're talking about guys that have made this list before. Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, Ryan Ramczyk, Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, Tyrann Mathieu, Chase Young. There are guys on this roster that have made this list, but they don't make it anymore. So that's the reality of the situation for these Saints. And it's sobering. Like, you want to get so jazzed up. And look, I'm not suggesting that Saints fans aren't jazzed up. They sold out mini camp last month. It was 100 degrees, and the Who Dat Nation packed the joint to watch these guys practice. So the support is always going to be there. The passion is always going to be there. I just don't get the sense that the expectation is quite there. And with that, the anticipation is not. That first Sunday, sure. You get up, you put the jersey on, you get the food out, you get ready to roll, and you're excited to watch Tyler Shough with the hope and the anticipation that he's the next guy. But I think in the back of every Saints fan's mind, and certainly those of us that cover the team, you're also looking at it from this perspective and going, what can we even expect from this? You're paying the piper now for that run of greatness that we saw. And I think the way the Saints operated during that greatness was appropriate. I thought they did a good job. They had, over the course of that 15 years, they had 4 or 5 teams that could have gotten all the way. They really did. And when you've got that opportunity, you've got to try to capitalize, because you know that this part of the process is always lurking around the corner. Very few organizations fight off this spot. The Steelers have done it. The Packers have done it. The Ravens have done it. But just about everybody else gets into a spin cycle. And the Chiefs are at the zenith of what they are going to be, but you never thought the Patriots were going to lose again, and they stink now. And the Chiefs will stink soon. It's just part of the deal. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes won't be there forever, just like Drew Brees and Sean Payton weren't here forever. And the result after that crowning era usually looks something like this. And I was a little bit surprised. I'll be honest. I was a little bit surprised to look up and see not a single one of the Saints listed. I mean, you look at some of the guys toward the end of this list. Jalen Ramsey, who's probably just off his prime. Tyler Smith from the Cowboys, offensive tackle. Travis Kelce at 96. Derwin James. Ladd McConkey. Jordan Love. Devontae Adams. Like, these are the guys at the back end of that list. And to suggest the Saints don't have anybody on the roster that can be in that conversation is a bummer. It really is. But hopefully, as you move forward, next year, maybe Olave makes the list. Maybe you talking about Taliesin Fuanga on the list. Maybe Eric Coy does make the list next year. Maybe Kool-Aid McKinstry becomes that dude. It's possible. You've got some young players with some upside, but you've got to see it on the field. And to this point, most people don't feel comfortable with what they've seen from a lot of the guys on the Saints roster. So, look, that's Pete Prisco's opinion. Not necessarily the correct answer, but it is, to me, telling of where the Saints are at this point. All right, if you're looking for Saints coverage, you can certainly find it at LouisianaSports.net, where Ross Jackson's coming up with original content every single day. My stuff's up at Hunt on Saints, wherever you find your podcast, or on YouTube. Check that out as we get really, really close to the Saints reporting the training camp here within the next couple of weeks. We'll be talking about actual football practices that are going on with an intent to go play a game. We're getting closer, and we'll be at SEC Media Days next week on the college side of things as we inch towards the fall. But I'm not ready to completely slam the door on summer just yet. I kind of like summer. Had a good weekend. Let's talk some more football, including this list, because while the Saints got shut out of this list, LSU did not get shut out of this list in a big way. We'll talk about that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. Every car that's on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Genesis.com. Safety, safety, safety. Every single model. All of them on the Genesis line. IHA top safety pick. All of them. Some of them top safety picks plus. Get on by and see them. Like, you'll feel the warmth of the staff. You'll feel like a guest, not a customer. You'll get behind the wheel and feel the comfort and how smooth the drive is of these vehicles. And then when I tell you that safety rating applies, like, you realize it's the entire package. Every single new purchase comes with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty and 3 years of complimentary valet maintenance. It's all there at Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
We just talked about the top 100 players in the NFL. And after I went through it from a Saints perspective, I was like, all right, well, let's look at the LSU players. Started thinking about, well, I think Justin Jefferson will probably make it. Burrow, Chase, yeah, probably so. And then I started thinking about some others. Jaden Daniels probably in that mix now. And I thought Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas had a pretty good go of it there. There's probably a pretty good number of LSU players on that list. So started scrolling through. Well, there's good reason why the 2019 team was pretty good. They had the number 5 player in the NFL, that's Justin Jefferson. The number 7 player in the NFL, that's Joe Burrow. The number 8 player in the NFL, that's Jamar Chase. And the number 23 player in the NFL, that's Derek Stingley Jr. So 3 of the top 8 and 4 of the top 23 were on one college football team. That's pretty good. But that wasn't it for LSU. Represented a number of different places. You had Jaden Daniels, number 33 on the list. His 2 wide receivers from 2023 bunched together on the list. Brian Thomas, 44. Malik Neighbors, 45. And then you've got Danielle Hunter at number 47. So of the top 50 players in the NFL currently, LSU has 8. Put more succinctly, of the top 47 players in the NFL, according to Pete Prisco, LSU has 8. 8 of the top 47. That is remarkable. And these are the kind of things that I point to when I'm talking about the 2019 team and its greatness at the next level. Because to have Jefferson, Chase, and Burrow at 5, 8, and 7 respectively is a loud statement. And then to have a defensive player mentioned in the top 25 like Stingley was, and he was that good as a freshman. It wasn't like he had some meteoric rise from his freshman year through. In fact, he played his best football at LSU as a freshman. So to have those 4 as starters on that team and what they've ascended to, and Stingley was on the list last year at 80. He moved up to 23 this year. For the 2019 offensive guys, Jets moved from 7 to 5, Burrow from 15 to 7, and Chase from 13 up to 8. So all moving in the right direction from that team. And that just lends itself to how great that team was. But also, it makes you shake your head, as we've done for 2 years around here, at having an offense that had Jaden Daniels, number 33, Brian Thomas, 44, and Malik Neighbors, 45, 3 of the top 45 players in the league on one offense, putting up ridiculous numbers, and you couldn't get out of your own way on defense. Would have been nice to have Danielle Hunter and Derek Stingley on that defense. You didn't. And all these guys come from such different backgrounds, right? Like Justin Jefferson, 2, 3-star recruit, 5th-ranked player. Joe Burrow, 4-star recruit, got beat out at Ohio State, had to transfer. Jamar Chase, 5-star, but from Louisiana, blossomed into what he could be. Derek Stingley kind of took that path, 5-star, from Louisiana, blossomed into what he could be. But like Jaden Daniels, 4-star recruit, transferred, exploded. Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors have very similar stories. 4-star recruits from South Louisiana, picked LSU. Not hugely impactful their first year, as you would expect. And then just over time became superstars through gradual improvement in the program. You've got Daniil Hunter, who was a 4-star recruit, and we talked about him every August, like you're well aware. They sent us out there. What do you see at practice? Well, they got this guy, defensive end, that looks like he plays for the Vikings. Got the purple and gold on, and then eventually he did play for the Vikings. And he got a lot of sacks. And Daniil Hunter at this point is on a Hall of Fame type trajectory. And I think it's reasonable to look at that list I just laid out and make a compelling Hall of Fame case for 4 or 5 players. It's too early now. They've got to keep playing. But Justin Jefferson's on the way. Joe Burrow's on the way. And if he and Jamar Chase can go get a Super Bowl and keep throwing for a bajillion yards, they're on the same trajectory. I'm not going to put Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors, and Jaden Daniels in the Hall of Fame today. That's probably a little bit premature. They played one season. It was a good season. Jaden Daniels took the league by storm, got to the NFC Championship game. Brian Thomas set some rookie records. Malik Neighbors set some Giants records. And he didn't have anybody to throw in the ball. So it's been remarkable to watch the talent roll through this program. And the more things like this happen, where you see LSU littering a professional football list, the better it is for recruiting. It all goes back into that brand. And I know that NIL is going to carry the biggest weight in this deal, and how well LSU keeps up from that perspective will be the most important thing, but it is not the only thing. And if you've got guys representing your brand, your program, setting records, showing up on all pro teams, making a case for the Hall of Fame and the best players playing on Sundays, like it's a big, big feather in LSU's cap to have these types of dudes. I was hopeful maybe like Patrick Clean or Lloyd Cushenberry popped up there and made the list. Maybe Damian Lewis. It's a tough list to make. Top 100 is pretty good. But LSU didn't have any trouble putting guys on it. 8 of the top 47 players in the National Football League hail from LSU. I did not go through and count that every single school, but it's a pretty impressive statement for the LSU program to have put that kind of talent out there. I'll give you kind of some cliff notes on some of the other guys there. The top of the list, Mahomes, number 1, Myles Garrett, number 2. That's the same as last year. Saquon Barkley was not on the list last year. He was 3rd this year. He was the best player in the NFL, I think, this year. Incredible year. Josh Allen at 4, Justin Jefferson, as I mentioned, at 5, Lamar Jackson at 6 in front of Burrow and Chase, Pat Surtain, who LSU obviously recruited very hard, at number 9. He ended up at Alabama, and then Micah Parsons at number 10, rounding out the top 10. And you got guys like TJ Watt, Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, Derrick Henry still coming in at number 14, Aiden Hutchinson at 15, Creed Humphrey of the Chiefs at 16, Jalen Carter at 17, Chris Jones 18, Fred Warner 19, Tristan Wirfs, offensive tackle of the Bucs, there at number 20. So again, if you're looking at the local angles to these stories, the Saints shut out of the top 100. LSU gets 8 players in the top 47 of Pete Prisco's list. You can check that out at cbssports.com if you'd like to give it a look. All right, chugging right along here on a Monday. Our Monday show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. I tell you all the time about Gulf Coast. Like, you can work with the big box stores for your office supply needs. And they got everything you could possibly want, right? But if you call them, like, do you get a recorded line in Atlanta, voicemail in San Francisco? Like, do they even know you exist? Not sure. You can call on the mom and pop stop, sure, but they might not be able to help you because they don't have the resources. You get somebody on the phone, they'll know your name, but can they help you? Gulf Coast splits the difference beautifully. They're big enough to have the resources on hand. They got $1 million here in Lafayette. They've got in Baton Rouge. They've got an incredible team that can help service your machines if there is an issue. You'll have a wonderful relationship with your rep, whether it's Trey Beal or anybody else over there at Gulf Coast. So you get the best of both worlds when you work with Gulf Coast office products. All your printing, scanning, copying needs, no matter your vertical industry, whether you're in healthcare, education, law, accounting, media place like us, they help us out. They can help you out as well. It's Gulf Coast Office Products. Find them online at gcopnet.com, gcopnet.com. All right, so Manny Navarro from The Athletic has a piece up that he published last week. Tried to get to it last week, didn't quite have the chance to do it here, but he talked about the way that Brian Kelly put together this LSU roster. And obviously we understand it was done very, very differently than what teams have done in Brian Kelly's past, where it's been heavy on high school, just adding a couple here or there in the portal. And we heard Brian Kelly say, well, we're not going to buy players. Then realize, well, you got to go buy players. And he changed his philosophy. And I think he should get a lot of credit for that, and I think Manny agrees with that, but it's a very, very different model from what he has done over the course of his coaching career. So Manny dug deep into that, and we'll talk to him about that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Next week, we'll all descend on Atlanta, Georgia, SEC football media days from the College Football Hall of Fame. Very much looking forward to that. We'll do shows Monday through Thursday there from the ATL and then come on back either Thursday evening or Friday morning. I think Thursday evening is when we're planning on coming back. So looking forward to that week away. One more week here in Baton Rouge. Let's talk some football. Manny Navarro covers college football for The Athletic. Got a piece up on The Athletic right now. LSU won the transfer portal, but will it be enough to get the Tigers over the hump? Manny joins us right now on the Jim's Farms hotline to talk about it. Thanks for the time, Manny. How are you?
Doing good. How are you doing?
Doing quite well. Read your piece, very much enjoyed it. Invite Tiger fans to go check that out at The Athletic. I'm curious on your thoughts on Brian Kelly's kind of about face in terms of roster building and the quotes that you referenced in your piece.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you have to adapt in college football, and I think while LSU's been traditionally one of the best programs in the country year in and year out in terms of recruiting their own backyard in the southeastern part of the United States, the game has changed, and so much is about being able to retain your own players, number one, and B, being able to go into the portal and fill needs. And I think the way that he sort of expressed his disappointment over some of the recruits that they lost back in December, this is the way probably a lot of head coaches feel when they get beat out by other programs who have maybe bigger NIL budgets. So he's adapted well. I think he's ultimately done what needed to be done. Now he's got to go out there and actually win the games.
Do you think the Bryce Underwood recruitment was the last straw, or do you think that was the sole reason that he made these sweeping? Because he had said previously, we're not going to go buy players. I'm confident LSU didn't get all these transfer guys for free.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way he felt previously. But again, the game has changed, right? And you're seeing how other people are able to win championships today. I mean, Michigan's payroll, has gone up obviously tremendously from the way they used to operate. Ohio State spent over $20 million last year to put that team together. So I think, you're just adapting with the times ultimately and what needs to happen. And I think more than anything else, he probably said a lot of that to try to get the LSU community fired up and say, hey, we got to start putting some more money in to help out this collective.
So you've got a portion of this story that's sizing up LSU and goes into kind of the way the roster was put together. In doing that, what's your sense of what LSU is bringing to the table in 2025?
Yeah, it's a good team. I think they're a top 4 team in the SEC right now. I think the only teams on paper that I like a little bit more are Alabama, Georgia. Who am I forgetting?
Texas.
Texas, yes. How could I forget Texas? They're my national championship pick.
Yeah.
I think those 3 teams are better on paper, but I think what he's got, you go out and you sign 11 Power 4 starters, guys that start at least 6 games at other places, and that counts for something in the portal. You can get that kind of experience, those guys that have been in the fire at upper level conferences. I think that usually translates well. I think 71% of the guys who made all conference teams last year that were transfers were guys that played for in P4 schools prior to arriving wherever they went. So I think, that's going to count for something that's going to make that team better this year.
What's your confidence level in Garrett Nussmeier?
I like him when he doesn't turn the ball over. I think that's ultimately his biggest deal, right? Is can he protect the football in the big games? I mean, he can make big plays. He's got a good receiver room. I think the additions that LSU went out and made this offseason, Barry Brown, Nick Anderson, I think both of those guys with Aaron Anderson are going to be, pretty good trio. And I think Bauer Sharp was a good pickup in the portal after losing Mason Taylor. So he's got enough weapons around him. The running game, I think, should be better. With some more options back there. Harlan Berry, I really like him a lot. I think he's going to be a freshman sensation. So I think they got a good team. It's a matter of can you protect the football when it matters.
Is this sustainable for LSU to go and spend this kind of money every year and overhaul with these Power 4 type transfers? Or is this an indication, okay, this is a year we felt like we needed to pounce, let's go?
I think they'll be willing to pay the bill if they make the playoffs every single year. If they're a contender, I think a lot of these schools would, especially the booster base, they'll be happy to spend the money if they can make sure that they're actually playing for something. When you don't make the college football playoff, you don't make the SEC championship game, and you're just another team, then no, they're not going to want to continue to pay that bill. They're going to pay to make sure the coach goes away and they make a change. So to me, I think as long as Brian Kelly gets to the playoff, he's going to be fine.
On defense, it's not something we've talked a ton about here, but I'm curious your thoughts on the additions that they made on the defensive side of the ball and whether or not they can shore that side up, because it's been, quite frankly, not nearly championship standard for the last 3 years.
Yeah, the last time I saw LSU in person was the opener against Florida State 2 years ago in Orlando. I'm based out of Miami, so I see a lot of the games played here in the state of Florida, but I did not recognize that LSU team on defense. I could not believe how bad they were in the secondary in that game, and I think obviously it's been a work in progress to get them back to the kind of level they used to be at, where they produced all-pro guys and first-round picks. I think the pickups that they made in the portal this year, Mansour Delaney, I watched him in the ACC, very good player, solid pickup. I think, Tamarcus Cooley at safety, he's going to be an effective guy that you can sort of move all over the field. But A.J. Halsey was the big one, and they beat out Miami in the spring to get A.J. I think he's going to be a difference maker, probably their best safety and a guy that makes a whole lot of plays for him.
Chatting with Manny Navarro from The Athletic. If we could deviate a little bit from LSU here and maybe talk big picture about some of the other teams in the SEC. I'm curious about quarterback at Georgia and at Alabama with Stockton and Simpson. You mentioned those two teams as teams that you think are in LSU's class or just a little bit above them. How do you feel about those two quarterbacks?
Yeah, those are great questions going into the season. I think when you look at the supporting casts around them, they have obviously good programs that have been built around them. It's a matter of can they step in. I mean, we won't know until the bullets start flying, but I think, Georgia and Alabama are two programs that have continually recruited at an extremely high level. They've added guys to the transfer portal, and so it's a matter of what happens when they actually get a chance to play. I think Stockton obviously had an opportunity to play some in the playoffs last year, stepped into the SEC championship game and helped Georgia beat Texas, so he deserves some credit for that. But both of those quarterbacks are in a situation where, to me, it's almost like just don't screw it up. Just hand the ball off, let your defense don't put your defense in bad situations with turnovers, and you should be able to win a lot of games.
Same thing for Arch Manning. How do you feel about him?
Yeah, I think Manning's much more of a playmaker than the other two. I mean, he's a gifted runner. He's a guy that can throw the football. I think he's a guy that projects potentially as a first-round pick. I think he is. That's why I picked Texas to win. I think he is a special player, and I think ultimately Texas has enough around him coming back. I know they went out in the portal and added some pieces, but they've had the number one recruiting class. They got top 5 recruiting classes the last few years. To me, Sark is as close as anybody. It's because of Arch to winning a national championship rather than the SEC.
Manny, we appreciate some time.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
He's Manny Navarro from The Athletic, just talking a little bit of SEC football. If you want to read more in detail about his piece with LSU, you can check it out on the Athletic website. I've got the app. It's great stuff, and this is going to be like the entirety of the talking point around LSU this coming week at SEC Media Days. When we get there, we're flying out on Sunday, and we'll I'm sure get the lay of the land on Sunday evening and then get to work in earnest on Monday. And it's just, I mean, we'll do a bunch of radio hits. I mean, Hester and Flynn and Matt will be more popular than I am on that circuit, but I'm confident I'll do 5 or 10, I'm sure. And the questions are going to be like, okay, is Nussmeier going to run a little bit and not turn it over? And can you get a defense that's built on the backs of a lot of transfers to come in and be significantly better than LSU's been the last 2 years? Like, can you do that? And I can absolutely make the case that they will. I can absolutely make the case that they won't. That's the discussion. Like, that's what this whole thing's going to be about. Like, is Jack Pyburn just a run stopper who can't get after the passer, therefore a limited player? Is this the Patrick Payton from 2 years ago when he was a terror, or this past year where he was kind of MIA? Can Tamarcus Cooley and Mansour Delane go from the ACC and star in the SEC, or are they closer to what Deuce Chestnut was? I don't know. Is DJ Pickett ready to play? I don't know. What are they going to do with Harold Perkins? I don't know. How's Jacoby and Guillory's Achilles? I don't know. Do you know for sure that Ahmad Bro and Don McKinley are close to all SEC players, or are they just another guy? I don't know. Like, I don't know a lot. I could make you the case that all those guys are going to step up and be really good. I can clearly make it. And I can make you the case that they're not. And so it's going to make for a fascinating month of August as we talk through it. I mean, that's the zenith of talking season, right? August. When we dig into this with no wins and losses out there, just hypotheticals, just gut feelings, and it all just kind of spills out on Memorial Day weekend. And unfortunately, around here, 5 times in a row, that's been a disaster. So I'm just hoping upon hoping that I don't have to come back in here on Labor Day Monday when everybody else is off and trudge up to this desk and go, well, they lost their 6th one in a row. I'm hopeful I can go, hey, they got something figured out here. They really got something. Because, man, and this is, I'm going off on a tangent I didn't even anticipate going on, but let's just roll with it. Like, it is what it is. When I do the post-game show for that game and write my column for LouisianaSports.net, and then when I come in on Labor Day, which we work on Labor Day because they've just started the season, that show is either going to be broadcast to a group of people who want to fire the coach today, or a group of people who thinks LSU is going to win the national championship. I don't think there is a possible way to see it any other way. Like, that's the way the fan base is going to feel. It's either going to be fire everyone or we're winning the Natty. You either lost 6 straight openers or you went on the road and beat a top 5 Clemson team. There just isn't a middle ground here. Like, I'll probably take one because I'm a little bit more measured than most fans I come across. But the vast majority of the people that follow LSU football are going to be just absolutely polarized on that Saturday night. That's what we're headed for. Those are the stakes in Clemson. Like, I know that they can still lose to Clemson and come out on the other end and make it. They can. But no one will feel that way after that game if they lose. Now, if they win, whoa, Katie bar the door. We'll be talking about LSU and Oregon in 2011 and that propelling LSU to one of the greatest seasons ever. Like, that'll be the conversation. And that may happen. And I'm here for it. Love it. Be great. Great for YouTube clicks. Great for LouisianaSports.net clicks. Great for Twitter followers. Great for the whole thing. Great for us. Losses, not great. We'll see. It's fascinating, and we'll have a lot of football discussion coming up from Atlanta next week. All right, one more segment to go here on a Monday. We'll come back and close things out next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Vaughn and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Doesn't have to be a huge, extensive renovation. Doesn't have to be. It can be something simple. Tub to shower conversion can totally change the look and feel, functionality of your bathroom. If you don't use your tub, it's old, it's dingy, or it doesn't work, don't just call the guy down the street. Call a company that's been doing this for 30 years. Call a company that's licensed and bonded and insured. Call a company that's got a master plumber. And get your work done properly. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. Tub to shower conversions, custom closets. They do vanities in the bathroom as well, flooring. They can do it all. Soup to nuts, as David says. Every single bit of it can be done with one phone call to one contractor. It's One Bath and Closets. Find them online, onebathandclosets.com, onebathandclosets.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Parrish Construction and Roofing brings you live coverage of the 2025 SEC Football Media Days. Join our team next Monday, July 14th through Thursday, July 17th, as we take you inside college football's premier conference by hearing from the biggest names and newsmakers in the sport. 2025 SEC Football Media Days is also presented locally by Rev and Relief Windows. Watch our coverage on the 1045 ESPN YouTube channel and read about it at louisianasports.net. It's the 2025 SEC Football Media Days powered by Parrish Construction and Roofing.
I have not done an SEC Media Days since 2013. We talked about that last week. It's been 12 years.
We were usually the only people here for me during that week.
It did. I was still able to fill those shows pretty easily because whatever teams went, I just detailed them on the show, and that's 4 days. It's a great time. It's a good time. Next week is going to be very, very busy. The MLB draft is next week as well, which is going to be massively impactful here for LSU. The signing class that LSU has put together on the baseball side does not have a top 10 prospect in it. That's just a surefire MLB draft pick. But there are a lot of guys that could be drafted early enough to sign. So I'm going to continue to do some digging. I did a little bit of that over the weekend, and I'll have probably on Wednesday of this week a little bit more on the draft. LouisianaSports.net. I'll have some stories up, and I'll talk about it on the show. I don't want to do it too early because the draft's not until next week. But we'll get into a lot of college football talk next week as well as the MLB draft, and then we'll come home and have kind of 1 week to settle in, and then the Saints are reporting, and LSU's a week away, and it's just off and running all the way through the fall. So excited to get to Atlanta starting on Sunday evening, and our shows will be there all week long from Monday to Thursday next week. One more order of business today. Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Presented to you by Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer, crafted by America's oldest brewery. Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
A lot of Flight by Yingling being taken down at the lake this weekend by the Palmer crew. 95 calories, 2.6 carbs, the next generation of light beer. They were cold, refreshing, delicious. If you're out at the lake, if you're out at the pool, you're mowing the grass, you're going to a tailgate party, you're just playing golf, whatever the case may be, you're outside, you're looking for a light beer. Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer.
All righty, first one here. Saya got snubbed. Take it or leave it.
I mean, I'll take it.
I'll take it.
Almost 80 RBI in
75.
The All-Star break. I think he's up to 77 now.
Maybe so, yeah.
He hit a home run last night. So, to lead the league in runs driven in is tough to be left off the All-Star team. He's been awesome. The Cubs offense has been awesome. I'm not going to lose a lot of sleep over it, but it is he probably should be on the All-Star team.
All right, next one here. We got Wimbledon going on, Hunt. I don't know if you've caught any of it.
I have.
Okay. Well, we've got two Americans into the quarterfinals, Ben Shelton and Taylor Fritz, both really good young players in the sport right now. And Ben Shelton actually might catch a break here because the number one seed, Yannick Sinner, who has been pretty much him and Carlos Alcaraz, the two best players right now in the sport. Sinner is currently down the first two sets in his match with Grigor Dimitrov. So maybe catching a break there for Shelton, but one of the Americans will make the championship. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. It's tough to do. Quarters is a good spot to be in. Of course, you can advance the semis later this week and make it happen on Sunday. But I doubt it. I don't trust American tennis players in Grand Slams, especially on the men's side. The women have been better than the men. Men have just been awful. My childhood, it was Agassi and Sampras and Roddick, and like you always had an American that was like in the thick of it, and I loved that. And like while this was the golden era of tennis with Federer and Nadal and Djokovic, like to not have an American just surface anywhere was tough for like the sport here. So I'm scarred by that, and I will bet against them until I'm proven wrong.
All right, last one here. The NBA has been very interesting with the trades going on of late. And the latest one, which we knew was coming, but the Kevin Durant trade to the Rockets was the first 7-team trade in NBA history. You understand this. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. I have no idea what happened anywhere. It looked like a video game. It looked like an 8-year-old
Even a video game
had scrambled the video game and done that. Like it's hard to imagine. Like who was the 8th team that picked up the phone and they're like, "Hey, there's 7 of us here. We need you to come. We got to make the money work. Can you jump in this 18?" Like that's a lot. The NBA's roster building has jumped the shark for me. Like it was not like this 20 years ago.
No.
And I'm not saying better or worse. I'm just saying it's ridiculous. Like the amount of hoops that teams jump through and the amount of demands that players make and the amount of times elite players change franchises is crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. So here are the terms for this trade. So as I said, 7 teams being involved in this, 6 players, 1 first-round draft pick, and 12 second-round picks were also moved. In addition, the Rockets made a second-round pick swap with the Hawks and sent them cash consideration.
Make sure you swap that second round so you can stash that guy in the G League for a couple of years.
Gotta make the numbers work. Yes,
gotta make the numbers.
Those
second-round picks are worth less than this tiny notebook over here.
Probably so.
Just completely worthless. All right, that's it for Take It or Leave It. Brought to you by Flight by Yingling. Big 4th of July for you back over the weekend. How was it?
It was good.
What was your golf score?
Well, I didn't end up taking a score because we played a scramble because we were playing. I was playing with 3 other guys, my brother, and my cousin and my brother-in-law. And my brother-in-law has not played golf very much. Okay. So we were playing at Carter Plantation, which is a pretty tough course. So we weren't going to all try to keep our own score.
Okay.
And trying to not be out there for 6 hours. We played a scramble.
You can be out there a long time in July.
Yes.
If you're hacking your own ball around the yard.
So we did a scramble. So the score was there was no score. We did lose the match. I played with my brother-in-law because he hasn't played a lot, and my brother and cousin are both a little bit more experienced. So I took him, and we pretty much were playing my ball for most of the round. So it was kind of me against 1 against 2, and we did make it to the last hole. It was all square. Going into the last hole, but we did have a bit of an issue on the second shot over the green. Couldn't find the ball, so it was tough.
That's not clutch play right there.
No, it wasn't.
Big time players, big time games. You got to step up.
Did not step up to the plate there, but it was good though. It was very hot.
Yes.
There was one of the igloo water jugs on the holes was empty. Not a good look, and then also one of the holes was missing a water fountain. So we didn't get enough water. That was an issue.
Need Flight by Yingling.
Yes, we did have those. In fact, I sent you a photo of me drinking one.
I saw that.
And then after that, I needed some water, some actual just 100% H2O, and did not get it. So it was an issue.
Monday's show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. We are going to get out of here if you missed any of the show today. Catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Tons of LSU football talk, including some recruiting at the top of the show. Manny Navarro from The Athletic talking LSU as well. We mentioned the Saints. Pete Prisco doesn't think any of the Saints are any good. We talked about that. Catch it all wherever you find your sound. Hunt on Saints and Hunt on LSU. I'm done. Matt's going to drive you home. He hadn't been here in a week and a half, so he'll be on with that for further review. We'll be here tomorrow, same time, same place for a Tuesday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.